Welcome to the Sports Drain Club. I'm your host, Patrick Melton, along with my co-host, Keenan Duke, and we are here for another episode. And we are fuck. I was like, I end up laughing, bro. All right, 1, 2, 3. Welcome to the Sports Drain Club. I am your host, Patrick Melton, along with my co-host, Keenan Duke, and we are back for another episode. Keenan, what's going on tonight, bro?
Nothing much, man. Just I actually did my first softball practice. I went and was an assistant coach for a friend of mine, his daughter's softball team. I was helping
Really?
out with their outfielders. Yeah.
Interesting enough.
Yeah.
How'd you get plugged in with that?
He hit me up randomly this week. He just called me and was like, "Hey, so I was wondering if you could come out. Our outfielders need a lot of help, a lot of work. And obviously playing softball with you, I really like the way that you play, and I think you could really help us out. So I don't know if you'd be interested or if you'd be free to come out and show them a few things, but we really like you out here." And I was like, "Sure, why not?"
So now you're a softball coach, bro? How old are
I
you?
guess so. Yeah, Coach Keenan.
Coach Keenan. They don't call you Coach Duke?
14.
They don't call you Coach Duke?
I don't know. Coach Duke, Coach Keenan.
Coach Keenan.
They just were just like, "Thanks, Coach."
Interesting. All right. And I understand that
I don't know.
you also had some other softball activities going on. Isn't that right? Did you have a championship? Did we talk about that already?
Last week. No, we didn't. No, but I did have a championship this Wednesday. My team that I actually play on with, some guys and Amber. I know she's listening to this, so Amber as well. But we actually lost in the last inning. So we lost by 1 run. So it was kind of a bummer. But it was a fun game. Yeah, in the championship game we lost, but it's all good. It was still fun. We'll be back playing in 2 weeks, so it doesn't matter.
Oh wow!
All that was at stake was the T-shirt.
Chasing another ring, or in this case, chasing another T-shirt.
Yep.
Do they even have champions on it, or is it just
no? It says champion.
T-shirts? Oh, okay. All right.
No, it says it'll say champions. Spring season 2019.
No trophy, no plaque, no golden ball, nothing.
No, nuh-uh.
Wow.
No, we don't need all that, but it's all good.
I always like playing for something like a trophy. So you spent all that time and effort to get a T-shirt and a picture.
But I mean, that's at least usable. Yeah. What am I going to do with the plaque? What am I going to do with the trophy? I can't use that. Man, I can use a T-shirt. I can give it to somebody.
If everybody got a championship plaque, man, you could put it up in your house.
Don't nobody want that. The only thing that we do, so I play on Mondays as well for my work team for Access, and we get plaques for that. And when we win those, we put it up in our office, in the kitchen area.
I got you.
Yeah, so that's cool at least.
I will ask you this: who has a colder team, your Access team, or which team is it? Which team is this that you're playing on?
On Wednesdays?
Yeah,
it's that's a men's league.
Oh, okay.
It's all guys, but like I said, Amber plays on it as well. So because she can ball like that, yeah.
Amber is a baller.
No, she is. She's dope.
Okay,
but yeah, so she rolls with us on Wednesdays. But our co-ed, the Monday team is co-ed. So, but we're really good.
Mm-hmm.
We always win the championships.
Oh wow!
I mean, I'm not trying to toot our horn or anything like that, but we are really good.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
well, I know that I filled in and played out there one time, man, and
yeah, I had you fill in when you came and visited.
We were kind of low key Bash Brothers out there, so that's kind of cool.
No, you were just out there just trying to mash home runs,
bro. That's all that I ever wanted to do in life was to just hit big bombs, bro. Why do
you're just trying to be you're just trying to pull off your best Chris Davis impression?
Absolutely. Why do all of that running around when you could just hit it over the fence and trot?
But I like running. That's the thing. I actually kind of like running. My favorite thing is trying to get a triple.
Well, you keep legging out those triples while I hit home runs and trot. I'm not trying to run like that, bro. I'm trying to hit it over the fence. I'm trying to go around the bases as slow as possible.
I feel you trying to have that 20-second base lap.
Heck yeah, I'm not trying to. No, heck no. It's just like that one time. Remember when it was in fall ball? When we were at Eastfield when Clark Jackson, our buddy.
Oh my
Clark,
God, when he
hit
matched like 4 or 5
hit
home runs.
4 home runs.
Remember the one that he hit off his knee? He like literally hit a home run, like dropping down to one knee. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what the heck?
He straight Adrian Beltre that, man. Like, that was crazy. Like, the best part about it is that the other team on the other side was like, they like got up.
They were like excited about it, actually.
Another home run, bro.
You like cut out for a bit there.
Damn it.
It's okay.
What did you miss?
I missed when you said the team got up and then you like froze.
Dude, that sucks. All right, so the team got up on their feet, okay, and they were like all watching Clark. Like literally, even the coach too. Just everybody was just up on their feet, just wanting to know if Clark's gonna hit his 4th home run.
A 4th home run.
And lo and behold, he hit that mug.
But remember, he was like hitting them, and he was like almost joking around. He was just like, it's like, are you trying or
he
not?
did not care, bro.
Hitting home runs.
He did not care. I actually have a funny story for you today. I got a message from one of our other old teammates, Cameron Barra, and he sent me.
That's so weird. I'll continue, but I got a message from someone too.
Right, he sent me a video of because I guess they were doing the All-Star selection today for the MLB, and he sent me a video of Cody Bellinger getting interviewed, basically talking about like his hot season this year or whatever. But in the interview, Cody Bellinger's eyes were like literally about to, like, he looked like he was about to fall asleep. Like,
seriously?
Yeah, he was totally high. Like, he was totally drunk. Like, he was high. Like, he was high.
Low key, he looks like he smokes a lot of weed.
Bro, he smokes a
I'm being honest,
weed, bro.
Like, he looks like it. Like, there's some players you just look at and you're like, yep.
We're not going to name any names, but we had some ball players on our team who would go out there high before a game.
My God. My Lord.
It just be, I mean, they were going hard, but damn, like their eyes were.
There's 2 pictures in particular that come to mind, but there was one.
We both know.
There was one. Do you remember that time when we were in Louisiana, when we were in New Orleans?
Yeah.
My God. Okay, so for everybody out there, I tell this story all the time because it's absolutely hilarious. So we had this tournament out in New Orleans one weekend, and we played one game, and we got out. We finished early in the evening, so we all got to spend some time in the French Quarter. And our coaches kind of like let us go our separate ways and do whatever. They're just like, be back at the bus by like 10 o'clock. So we're all out, and somehow we managed to like get into like this one bar, and like everyone's just like drinking and whatnot. And so
keep in mind, we weren't supposed to be drinking.
No, we weren't. And so, basically all of us got back on the bus and like go back to the hotel. Apparently some people had snuck back out and went back to the French Quarter and continued partying. So the next day we have an early game. Several people are like completely hungover. Some are still actually drunk. And I remember one of the outfielders, we were taking in and out. We finished with the outfielder. So, like after in and out outfielders, then we just start taking fly balls. One of our right fielders comes over because he's the last one to take in and out, take a ball. And he comes over and he's just like standing next to me. And he was like, so when are we taking in and out? And I was like, we just took it. What are you talking about? He's like, man, I'm still drunk. I'm so sorry. I was
Bro,
like, he's like, I hope coach isn't starting me today. And then
bro.
do you remember watching that certain pitcher warm up? Like, and coach had us all was talking to us, and all of us are watching him warm up in the bullpen. And you know how the bullpen had like that really tall like backstop that
Yeah,
was at least about like 20 feet high. It
yeah.
was at least 20 feet high. And then like there's a parking lot that was in the back, and literally his first pitch goes over the wall into the
Yes.
parking lot, and all of us are like, oh my God, this is gonna be the worst game of all time.
He went out there and he dealt.
He did though. He had to
He
get
went
that
out there.
first pitch out of his system.
He went out there and pitched pretty well that day, man.
Mhm.
And if anybody out there has got a funny hangover story, or if you partook in any other sort of extracurricular activities before you went
Yeah.
out in a sporting event,
Yeah,
let us
please let us
know.
know.
It doesn't
I mean,
have to just be amateur. It could be recreational too.
was there ever a game that you played in where you were like still struggling from the night before?
I don't have a comment on that.
You don't? Man, you being
No,
bashful. I'm gonna be
I
honest with I'm gonna be honest with
I
you.
plead the fifth. FIF.
Oh, okay, Dave Chappelle. I'm, I'm actually gonna be honest with the folks out there. There was one game in particular that I remember where I was a little hungover from the night before, and it was actually one of my best games. I went like 4 for 5 that day. I have no idea how that happened.
A little bit later on down the line. A little bit later on down the line, I definitely will tell my story at some point. But as for
Okay.
tonight, I'm going to plead the
All
fifth.
right.
But we're going to move on.
Okay.
We've got a few things to kind of talk about. Our girls' soccer team, U.S. women's national team, to be exact. We've got a big game tomorrow against France, and I think that
Which
we're
will
going
be
to end up.
today.
Which will be
Into it.
today, obviously. Yeah, and another
Yeah.
big game this week with Netherlands and Italy. So everybody
Mhm.
be tuned to watch that. That's definitely going to be a fun one. We'll have the polls up on our story. Who you think's going to win? Obviously, I think the U.S. is strong, but obviously France is too. And I hate that they're playing
Mhm.
like right now. Okay, I feel like this is a finals game, but
Yeah, it definitely could be a final matchup, but it is what it is. It happens in these types of tournaments sometimes, you know.
absolutely. But Copa America, uh, Argentina, they're in the quarters.
Yep.
I don't know
Same thing
how.
with Colombia. I actually think Colombia might win the whole thing. They're playing very well.
Yeah, they are playing very well. But
They're playing extremely well.
is this going to be the tournament that Argentina breaks through? I doubt it.
No, I don't think so.
Neither
No.
do I. Neither do
I
I.
don't think they'll ever break through that would be, I would say, glass ceiling, but that thing seems to be still for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll definitely be keeping our eye on that.
Mhm.
LeBron James has changed his number to 6. He's going
Yeah.
back to number 6 because he gave 23 to Anthony Davis. What do you think about that?
Why did you say he was going back? When was he 6 before?
He was 6 with the Miami Heat.
He was?
Yeah.
Why do I not remember that?
Don't
That
know.
seems he was 6 for them?
Mhm.
Hmm. Okay.
He was number
Well
6 with the Miami Heat.
well, maybe that means he'll bring a championship to the Lakers since he brought a championship to the Heat with that number, so who knows?
Maybe so, or maybe he's honoring his 6 championship losses.
Oh, you went there with it.
Sorry for all these bronze sexuals out here. I don't want to offend anybody, but we'll definitely be talking about that guy a little bit later on. I
Oh, yeah.
also saw that the ICC, the cricket tournament, is shaping up a
Mhm.
little bit here. We've
Yes,
got
it is.
a couple of teams that are trying to get another, that fourth slot here with England, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. So
Mhm.
um, it's going to
Sri
be
Lanka's still kind of in it,
Sri
but they
Lanka
have a
is
very
somewhat in
outside
it.
chance.
Yeah, they really do
Yeah.
have an outside chance. But I really do predict that England gets bounced, Pakistan gets in.
Y yeah,
I
yeah.
would like to see that, to be honest with
I would, yeah, because then it would be India, Australia,
Pakistan,
uh,
and New Zealand.
Pakistan, and who's
Yeah.
New Zealand. New Zealand. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would
that
be
would be
nice.
really cool to watch for the Final Four, but it's yet to be seen. We don't know yet. Hopefully,
I have to say I have to say I'm quite disappointed in West Indies.
man, why
I
you
was
have to
hoping to see
bring that
them
up,
too.
man?
Because I like the West Indies, and it just sucks that they're doing so bad. They're, like, playing so poorly. Like, they can't hit worth anything, and that's what they're known for. Like, they crush sixes, and they
Well,
ain't crushing nothing right now.
that's the thing is that they didn't crush anything in this game. That this is like one of the worst defeats that they've ever had.
I
Okay,
mean,
when they
India does just to be fair, India does have very good bowlers,
they
so
have really good bowlers, but I honestly that's the thing that happened in this past game is actually quite the opposite of the West Indies. Like you said, they didn't hit anything. This was actually really the first game that they like just didn't flat out just crush.
yeah,
I mean they
they
got
got smoked.
they got
They
smoked.
they got beat by 125 runs.
And to be quite honest with you, I think that they're packing it in and they're getting ready for T20s. They're getting
Yeah,
ready for the T20 World Cup, which is in
mhm,
2020. So, um,
yep.
got qualifiers group stage that's going to be coming up here pretty soon. So, that's pretty much I think what they're getting ready to focus on. At least their national team is. So, yet to be seen. We'll see how that unfolds with all of our cricket followers out there. We are getting closer and closer to the NFL season. We are getting closer and closer to fantasy football. So I
Yeah.
hope that everyone has got their dues paid. I don't. And we will be getting ready for that here pretty soon. Hopefully we can do
Mhm.
like a live draft somewhere or something
You
like
know,
that. That would
we
be
should we
neat.
sh we should see if anyone wants to get in the league, if we start a sports strength club fantasy football league, if people will be interested in joining.
Well, you know what? We can always put that out there and see how many people
Yeah,
can join in our fantasy football league, and
because
we will
I go hard on fantasy football.
absolutely, and we can give away prizes. We can give away a lot of different stuff,
Mhm.
and possibly even have a spot for you on the show. So, uh,
Ah!
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we can definitely get that rolling at some point in time. But I want to discuss something that I believe that I've just become more passionate about in the last couple of years. Um, to kind of start this off, I had a buddy of mine that I knew through a lot of mutual friends that actually we have together who played sports with us. But this
Mhm.
individual, Dallas Hunter, um, I found out today has taken his life.
Mm,
And he was a 6'5" shooting guard from Plano East. If anybody played basketball between the years of '03, '04, '05, and played in this area, North Dallas, I think that you would know Dallas Hunter. I think a lot of people who played basketball during that time, especially if you were playing AAU, summer
mhm,
ball, or high school ball, whatever it may be. I think that you knew this guy. I mean, he was pretty much there. He was their star, over at Plano East, and uh,
mhm.
our condolences go to his family and all of his friends.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the reason why I want to discuss this is because a friend of ours, Joseph Fultz, posted something today about how mental health is real, and that if someone is struggling from something and they want to talk about it, um, someone should be available to talk about it and not just brush it off and think that it's just, you're just, being whatever. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, I want to discuss this because mental health in sports is prevalent, and Dallas Hunter being an athlete, um, and a pretty good one at that. Just kind of some of the things that he did while he was at Plano East, averaging 18 a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists a game, 2.5 blocks a game as a junior. Uh, was the leading scorer. He became Plano East's all-time leading scorer. He was named to the district MVP as a senior, first team all-district selection, both as a junior and a senior. Had a scholarship to TCU, but ended up finishing up his career at Texas A&M Commerce. And I know that he played a little pro ball here and there.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he did. Just a solid guy all around. The thing
You know,
is that go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, it's I didn't know the guy personally, or am familiar with him, um, but knowing that you knew him a little bit, and Joseph and Lawrence, they seem to know him pretty well. It's always kind of tough knowing that someone was in a place to do that, and like you said, our condolences go out to not only his family but all his friends and the people that were close to him, because it's always tough to lose someone in that manner.
Absolutely, I think so. And the thing is that that's why I wanted to discuss this. Especially as being former athletes and
Hmm.
have played at the amateur level at a high level.
Hmm.
Um, it can be taxing, man. It can be taxing.
Yeah, no, it's. I don't think enough people realize just like how difficult it can be, um, being a athlete, and especially like a student athlete, not to take anything at all, not even remotely from professional athletes, but just because I think we can speak a little bit closer to the student athlete aspect, as that's what we were for the long time. Um, but just how much you have to deal with school, and then trying to excel not only in academics but within your sport, and how, like you said, how taxing that is, and just how so many different things can creep into your mind, whether that be self-doubt, um, whether it's something, going on in your personal life with family, that's just troubling you, and you don't feel like you have much of an outlet, or you don't feel like you can talk to anybody, or, if there's some sort of like depression that you're feeling about yourself, or just anything that, there's this kind of feeling of like shame that seems to be accompanied with that, to where you don't want to talk about it because you feel like you shouldn't be feeling that way, so you're ashamed to talk about it, so you just kind of bottle it up and keep it all held in. And as we all know, that's not the best thing for people to be doing. So
Exactly.
yeah, I just think it's something that a lot of people deal with. And I saw something like a report that said, it's like 6.9% of the population deal with depression, and it's like I kind of feel like that number is probably a lot higher,
Yeah.
and that's just reported incidences of people who actually kind of step forward and admit to having this, sort of issue.
Right.
So it's like I feel like that number is probably a lot higher than what's actually out there.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. And the thing is I always have been very sensitive about that topic, especially when people say that they're going through something or they're feeling a certain type of way, because it's very easy to brush people's feelings off based off of their situations. Okay.
Hmm.
What you may think is not a really big deal may be a really big deal to them. Okay.
Hmm.
And people handle their anxiety or their depression or their feelings in a lot of different ways. Okay. And
Hmm.
it could lead to the ultimate, you know, basically the worst of the worst, which would be death, which you don't want to wish that upon anyone, and you hope that someone wouldn't go as far down a road to where that would happen. But these sorts of things
Hmm.
happen. People cope with their depression with alcohol or with drugs or whatever it may be.
Gambling,
sex.
sex, it's people deal with it in a multitude of ways.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. And a lot of depression, also, I feel like in sports, comes from people who have injuries and don't know how they're going to
Yes.
come back from that injury or if they're ever going to be the same, especially professional athletes. And you know, I remember watching a documentary on Calvin Johnson. Okay, probably one of the best wide receivers who's ever touched the field for the Detroit Lions, and he literally said that anything that I wanted to get the pain off of me or get rid of, I can find any sort of prescription drug I want, basically in that locker room. Okay. When it's readily available like
Mm,
that, you know how easy it is to get addicted to, prescription drugs, especially if you're battling injury and you have the anxiety
yeah,
of just playing because you don't know if you don't play, like, you may not get this
which
paycheck or you may not hit this bonus, and you don't know what the heck's going on in people's lives to get that money. You know what I'm saying? Crazy.
or you just might not be paying again, like, somebody might take bot, you know what I mean? Like, just, like, a simple instance of, which I don't you never heard any reports of, you know I'm just using Drew Bledsoe as an example of someone who, got injured. Now, there was never any sort of reports of him, getting addicted to anything or suffering any sort of, like, depression or anything like that, but just the fact of, like, he lost his job because he got hurt.
Right.
And just the fear of maybe someone taking your job because you're hurt, and so wanting to not be hurt and get back on the field, or the court or whatever it may be, just so you can continue to play the sport that you've grown to love and want to continue playing. You know what I mean? So the
Exactly.
stress that just comes with that fact. So yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mm,
very true, and, as an athlete, and especially if you're a really good one, a lot of people think that you're basically, untouchable. You know what I
mhm,
mean? A lot of kids look up to you. They look at you not just as a human being, but as, like, a superhero in a sense that nothing could ever go wrong. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And we know that that's not the case because one of the biggest stars in the NBA, DeMar DeRozan, when he was with the Toronto Raptors, came out and talked about how he has been battling depression for years
mhm,
in the NBA. And when he did an interview with the Star, he told them, and I quote, "It's one of them things that no matter how indestructible we look like we are, we're all human at the end of the day. We've all got feelings and all of that, and sometimes it gets the best of you. Where times everything in a whole world on I'm sorry. You can edit this, right?
yeah,
Okay. It's one of them things that no matter how indestructible we look like we are, we're all human at the end of the day. We all got feelings and all of that. Sometimes it just gets the best of you, where times everything in a whole world's on top of you and you just don't know what to do." End quote. And
yeah,
I think it's kind of crazy that someone like him has the just has the power to come out and make that known to the world, like that, hey, you're not alone. Your favorite superstar battles from the same stuff that regular
mhm,
everyday people, battle through. And the fact that he is addressing it not like I'm a superstar, I've got all these other issues that you deal with. It's like, no, my issues are your issues. Just because I'm in a position where I'm in the limelight and I'm making lots of money and I'm on TV doesn't mean that whatever you're going through, and you may just be working a regular 9 to 5, is more important or less important because of our status. Like, at the end of the day, we're all human, and I can totally vibe with that, man. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And
yeah. No,
that's
it's
huge.
yeah, it is, and you know, there's so many athletes that do suffer from depression, and another one that I found
that I kept coming across that seemed to be a common one was, bipolar. People who have bipolar, and
Mhm.
why am I saying that wrong? What is it? Bipolarism? They're
People
bipolar.
people who are bipolar.
Yeah, people who are bipolar. Um, but there's this one picture that I came across, and he looks like he was a pitcher for the Mets, and they said at one time it almost ended his pitching career, and it took him years to work past his issues.
Mhm.
But that he hadn't given up on himself, and that he learned a lot from everything that he was going through. And he was quoted saying, "It's taken me all of 8 years, all of the 8 years since to figure that out. I've spent all the time learning the hard way that I am one of thousands, probably millions of Americans who live with clinical depression and or anxiety. I've learned that using a prescription such as Prozac and Paxil is not a sign of weakness, but of self-understanding and strength."
Right.
So to have that recognition, to know that, you know, there is a sort of strength in just recognizing something that's just an issue for you and dealing with it in the proper way, because a lot of people, they have that issue and they view it as a weakness and they don't deal with it properly, and it ends up overwhelming them and taking them into a place that no one wants to help them. So having the wherewithal and the recognition to realize that, hey, I have a problem, I need to find the best way to handle this and deal with it, whether that be prescription drugs, the right prescription drugs, whether that be, talking to a therapist and just being able to have that outlet to express how you're feeling in a non-judgmental environment. um, I think there's a certain amount of power and like they said, strength that comes with recognizing an issue that you have, and trying to handle it properly so it doesn't get the best of you.
Exactly. And, there's a lot of like big time athletes or actors or actresses or public
Mhm.
figures who have, suffered from clinical depression or suffered uh, you know, uh, from
Yeah, I mean, y-
bipolarism or any sort of other disorder that,
yeah. I
might
mean,
make them
Zach Greinke. Yeah, Zach Greinke was another big one. I feel like Zach Greinke was kind of like one of the more, I, don't- I hate to use popular, but kind of one of the more well-known instances of some like a professional athlete that literally stepped away from the game to deal with that particular issue. Like I like it because what it was 2006, right?
Yeah.
Where he like literally like left. He almost missed the entire season because he was dealing with depression and his social anxiety and anger problems. And you always heard reports of like how kind of an odd character Zach Greinke was. Like he wasn't particularly like friendly.
Mhm.
He always just kind of was there, but never really interacted with his teammates. And not to say that he was a bad teammate, because I never really heard that from anyone, but just that he was just kind of like this off, this character that that no one really interacted with, because he himself didn't really go out of his way to interact with others, which I'm assuming that's like the social anxiety that he was just experiencing, where he just, what for whatever reason, just couldn't find a way to try and connect with his teammates, like the people that he's literally spending every single day with. Like a major league baseball season is so long, and you're spending countless hours with these people and you cannot find a way to interact with them. Like that's, like I can't imagine what that feels like.
Exactly. And the thing is that, there's a lot of information out there for people, to help with mental health. Okay. There's a lot of stories out there to help with mental health because at the end of the day, this is something that a lot of people battle. Okay.
Mm.
The thing is just it's not talked about enough because people feel like that they're ashamed about it.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
NCAA has handbooks, has modules, has information that is free for all student athletes to read. And I'm just going to quote a little bit from the handbook here. Um, especially when it comes to injury. They have an article on here basically saying for some students, the psychological response to injury can trigger or unmask serious mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, disordered eating, or substance abuse, or just abuse. When a student athlete is injured, there is normal emotional reactions that include the medical information about the injury provided by the medical team, as well as coping emotionally with the injury. Some of these emotion responses could include sadness, isolation, irritation, lack of motivation, anger, frustration, changes in appetite, sleep disturbance, and disengagement. So, a lot of the stuff that you were talking about with Zach Greinke, even though that he didn't go through an injury, it could be something like Joey Votto, who is
Mhm.
the NL MVP, who lost his father. That triggered something for him to feel a certain type of way, to have, feel anxiety, feel depression, and he
Mhm.
wasn't the same, and he had to go seek help, and he needed someone to talk to. So there's a
Yeah,
lot of
and
different things that can trigger this stuff.
yeah, and I think what you bring up right there is a very good point where it wasn't even anything particularly pertaining to like him his actual physical well-being in terms of like it wasn't like Joey Votto himself got hurt. It was the death of his father that brought him to that place where it's like I think that's one thing that athletes get judged on unfairly is that say a player's playing poorly, um maybe one season they're playing just fine, the next season they're not doing so great, and everyone's like, oh my god, they've fallen off, like they suck now. Why is this player not playing well? Or they need to quit, like they need to get rid of him, blah blah blah. I think there's like this almost kind of like lack of empathy towards what an athlete might be going through in their personal lives that might be the reason as to why they might not be performing as well as maybe they can be, or what the public is used to seeing. And one example that I always kind of that always I always think about with that kind of thing is a Gene Segura,
Yeah.
who was a shortstop for um, he plays for the Mariners now, correct? No, the Phillies. He plays for the Phillies, but he played with the Mariners, and he played with the Brewers for the longest time. And while he was playing with the Brewers, him and his wife actually lost their child,
Mhm.
um like shortly after birth, or like it was like their kid was like 1 or 2 years old and passed away. And so he left for a while, and then when he came back, he wasn't like the following year, he struggled and he wasn't playing very well at all. And people were saying how bad he was and how much he sucked. And in my head, I'm just thinking, like, does no one realize that he lost a child?
Yeah.
Like, how difficult is that to continue to try and play when you've lost a child? Which a
Exactly.
lot of people say the worst thing for a parent is to lose a child. Like a person can lose their parent. That's the way it's supposed to be. But for someone to lose a child, like that's so painful. And so for
Exactly.
him to have to like deal with that and continue to go out there and play at a high level, yet everyone's saying like, oh, he sucks, and he's hearing all of these things. It's like, can y'all have some like sympathy for me a little bit? Like, I lost my kid. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? And what he must have been going through, to try and get back at a high level, and the fact that just it seemed that no one seems to take that into account. Like no one seems to take what someone might be going through personally and into how they're performing. And I think to know that that happens
Right.
a lot.
I got you. I got you.
you
And
know,
you cut out a bit like towards the end. So, but I did. I got the gist of
that's
what you
fine.
said. But I'll just follow up and just say, well, just
Okay.
to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, Keenan, like the sportsdigest.com actually had an article, and you talk about playing at a high level. They quote and say, performing at a top level is stressful and demanding, and the pressure to succeed can cause anxiety disorders. Overtraining can cause psychological exhaustion and sleep disorders. And losses may cause depressive disorders. It's important that trainers and coaches know when to refer athletes to professional clinics and counselors for treatments. Mental illness can become a serious and life-threatening problem. It can destroy lives, it can destroy careers. Individuals who are suffering from these disorders are often unable to help themselves and see the warning signs. End quote. And this is from the Sports Digest, and it's 100% true. And it doesn't
Mhm.
matter if you were playing at the time during your diagnosis of depression, or if afterwards you get depressed from years of playing. How many
Mhm.
people are depressed because they didn't get the opportunity to be at a certain level? And they
Mhm.
wonder and they dream and they dwell on that, or missed opportunities that may have happened. I mean, just to go back on the thing of injury, and I know that this is I know that this is kind of crazy to think about, but you think about the movie Friday Night Lights, and you think about Boobie Miles when he
Yep.
tore his knee. And then
Mhm.
if you just read the story of Boobie Miles and what he has done since then, there's no way in the world that you cannot say that he was not depressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Throwing away opportunity.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
opportunity of him getting to where it is that he wanted to be, and
Mhm.
because of his injury, it derailed him. He became he went to junior college a little bit, he got hurt again, and then after that, he just lived in Permian pretty much for the rest of his life, and I think he ended up being in jail, just
Wow.
I
Yeah.
you can't sit here and tell me that that guy was not depressed,
Mhm.
of what could have been or what
Mhm.
happened to him and how everything was taken, pretty much everything was taken away from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's basically a ghost. You know what I mean? He's just someone who's just talked about, you know what I mean, between people
Yeah.
like you and me. I mean, that's crazy. And think about how
And the
many
fact
people
that
have done
it's and the fact that it's almost like he reached his probably the notion sitting with him in high school. You
that.
know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right,
how you live this long life and the best years of your life were between the years of what? Like 15 and 17, 15, 18.
right.
You know what I mean? Like and you got the rest of your life to live and you know that those were the best years. Like oh
Yeah,
much of a thought that is, or knowing that you could have done something. And I just remember talking to John, that we had a few episodes back, and him saying how yeah, he slacked off a little bit. He wasn't really working as hard as maybe he should have been working, and the fact that he almost missed out professionally. Like, what if he actually did? And him potentially sitting with the thought of, crap, what if I'd have just worked a little bit harder? You know,
exactly,
I'd be doing what I want to do,
exactly,
but now I'm not, and it's because I know that I just slacked off a little bit, and so like that might eat away at somebody, that might cause them to like slip into depression. You know,
exactly.
so it's like all these little things here and there that might trigger somebody to fall into that state. Everyone has everyone makes mistakes and has different ways of dealing with, but sometimes those little things just really eat up at people and they just can't find a way to get out of it, at
Exactly,
least not on their own.
exactly.
Have you ever dealt with any sort of, or anyone that has like dealt with something like that?
Well, I think that I definitely know people who have dealt with depression and never went to a doctor or never, got diagnosed, okay, with it. And I'm just talking about athletes. Now, do I know people who have suffered from depression? Yes, I do.
Mm,
And I know how it can affect not just themselves, but everyone that's around them,
hmm.
and how everyone around them can affect the person who is depressed.
Yeah.
And so it kind of works in full circle, and it's tough, man. It's tough to watch. It's tough to watch someone, who tries to self-medicate. It's tough to watch someone who doesn't who refuses to help themselves. It's hard to watch someone go through the road to redemption, but finally when they get through it, it's definitely gratifying. You know what I mean? I don't think that
Yeah,
depression.
like didn't Josh Hamilton, like, isn't he kind of like the epitome of that, almost like someone who was like in the dumps and managed to pull himself out of it and actually make a career and do well for the stint that he was actually playing again in the majors, like, because
Absolutely.
he was suffering with depression, right? Like he was just like drinking a lot and like heavy into drug use, correct? Did I cut out?
Yeah, you cut out. What did you say?
I was saying, wasn't like Josh Hamilton was like super into drugs and drinking, correct? Right? He was like
Yeah,
so depressed that he was just, yeah, correct.
that's correct. He spent a lot of time trying to rehabilitate himself while playing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, that was really a big redemption story, but at the same time, relapsing over and over,
Yeah.
or even
Yeah.
relapsing while he was playing with the Rangers. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and that's the part that I was
It was
talking
like
about.
he was like the epitome of like the redemption story.
Yeah, he definitely was.
Continue. Sorry.
He definitely was the epitome of this story, of the redemption story. That's what I'm saying is that, yeah, we're having some connection issues. Like you were talking and it just like gick. Are you there?
Second thought, real quick. Okay. I just unplugged this Fire Stick. I don't know if maybe that was straining or sucking up too much stuff. So, all right,
Okay.
let's pick it back up.
All right. So back to just start back with your Josh Hamilton thing.
No, but Josh Hamilton, he like suffered from depression, right? Like he was dealing with what he was going through with like he was heavily drinking and super into drugs. Like he was just like his drug usage was like off the charts, right? Like before, like when he was like going in the major or in the minors and then like got dropped and was just like out in the streets doing whatever, right?
Absolutely. I mean, he went as bad as crack cocaine, heroin, uh, to the point where he could have died from overdosage. Um, and the fact that someone believed in him, someone believed in him enough that he could change his life and get back to what he was promised to be. And that was a first pick overall superstar. And
in which he lived up
even
to
though, yeah, he definitely did live up to that. And even though he got back to, being in the limelight, he relapsed several times. I mean, that's what I meant by even on the road to redemption, it's hard to watch because as soon as you are up at the top, you know what I mean? There is one thing could happen and you're boom right back down to the bottom. And as someone who believes in that person, do you know how hard that could be to watch just to see somebody go up, down, up, down? I mean, same with Josh Gordon, man, with the receiver for, that used to be with the Browns. Now he's with the New England Patriots. Mental health is
Mhm.
real, man. You think that he wants to feel the way that he feels. You think that he wants to cope using, prescription drugs or using marijuana or whatever other, or drinking or whatever it may be. You think that people really want to feel that way? Yeah, there's people out there who use stuff recreationally, but there's also people out there who have real issues, dude. And
Yeah.
that shouldn't be taken lightly.
No. Yeah. It's and not to make this I know this is a sports podcast, and
Mhm.
obviously all this is related to sports, but like we were saying earlier, this is than sports, you know what I mean? Once you start getting into this sort of subject, that's when the sports almost has to be stripped away, and you have to at that point just look at the person.
Right.
That's why I think teams and organizations are doing a better job right now with realizing, recognizing that if one of their players is suffering from this affliction and is dealing with this sort of thing, that they're allowing them to kind of step away without necessarily like cutting them. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Like they're giving them the time to go away and step away and take the time that they need in order to get right again.
Right.
And I think organizations should probably get a little bit more praise for that. I think what they're probably receiving right now, even though it's the right thing to do and they should be doing that type of thing, but a lot of businesses, which it is a business, uh, they might not do that kind of thing. So
Exactly.
I think it's good that you know that that they're allowing players to step away, because at that point you have to worry about that. You can't worry about the game. You have to try and help the suffering at that point. And you know, I think it's important that we realize that just because someone's an athlete, a professional athlete, that at a point they're just like everybody else. Not to say that they're not when they're even playing professionally, but a lot of people who aren't athletes who suffer with the same exact thing. And I can kind of go back to my grandfather, who one of my grandfathers, who actually took his own life, and the fact that you may not know if someone suffering from anything, because they might not tell you. Like
Keenan?
with him, like we didn't know. I didn't know. I don't think my mom knew. It just happened,
Keenan?
and can you hear me?
Hello?
I'm here. You can't hear me?
You're
Can you
cutting
not hear
out
me?
really bad.
Fuck. Why is this happening?
It was like in the middle of like you talking about your grandfather.
Fuck. Uh, you can hear me now though?
I can hear you now, but like in the middle of all of that, which was really good. I mean, when you go back and listen to it, it just cut out really like really bad.
Shit. What was I in the middle of saying? Do you remember?
You were just talking about your grandfather, and you were just going back to your grandfather and how he took his own life, how, you know, that situation could trigger a lot of different feelings and emotions and whatnot, and like
Mm,
how you didn't know that he was feeling a certain type of way and that you don't think your mom knew. A lot of people
mm.
didn't know.
Okay. I'm gonna try and think of. God, this is gonna be a hell of an edit job. Um, yeah, so I mean, stepping away, like it's one of those things where like I can kind of, just boiling it down to uh, that this is something that not only athletes deal with, but you know, everybody deals with, and I can relate to it personally, just with the fact that my one of my grandfathers actually took his own life,
Hmm.
and I don't think that was something that anyone particularly I don't think anyone particularly knew that he was suffering. I don't think anyone knew
Right.
that he was unhappy. You know, he's kind of a reserved guy and didn't really, you know, talk about his feelings much to begin with,
Hmm.
but I don't think anyone thought that he was in such a place to where he would do that.
Exactly.
And I think that's a lot. I think that's something that could really affect people in that if something like that does happen, the not knowing
Hmm.
and wondering if they could have done something if they had known. But just like the fact that you don't really have any answers and you feel like you're kind of like left helpless because
Hmm.
it's like, oh, could I have done anything? I don't know. And you don't there's just like such an unknown there. And but the fact that there are so many people who on the outside everything seems fine. Like
Yeah.
you would never guess that there's anything wrong with them because they would never tell it and they would never show it. But yet on the inside, they're basically dying. You know what I mean?
100%.
And how often, how many people are doing that? Because just to go back to that statistic that I stated earlier, where like 6.9% of the population is dealing with this. Like, how many
Hmm.
people don't we know about that are suffering, that are like drowning inside, and you just have
Exactly.
no clue because they're not gonna show it because either A, like they're ashamed of it, B, they don't want to burden other people with their problems, which is something that I personally kind of to a degree deal with myself, where like I hate being a burden to other people. Like
Exactly.
I hate like putting myself on like my problems onto other people and to because like I'm like, oh, like they probably got their own set of problems. Like I don't want to like put my problems on top of what they might be dealing with as well. So
Exactly.
I'm gonna keep all that stuff into myself because they don't need to deal with this. Like, why am I gonna burden this person with not only maybe dragging their ball and chain, but maybe tugging mine along as well? Like,
Exactly.
I don't want to do that to somebody. So I'm sure there's other people that feel that as well, or whatever reason it might be as to like why you don't want to talk about what you might be feeling that's putting you in such a like hurtful place.
Exactly.
Um, so it's like, it's, it's one of those things where I would hope that if a person got to such a place where you know they were even thinking about taking their own lives, that they would have just whatever that little voice inside of them telling them to like reach out to somebody,
Yeah. Reach out
anybody,
to
whether that
somebody.
be a family member, a friend, a professional, a hotline, who cares, but just somebody to like not do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
There's
the repercussions that come along with someone taking their own life, it extends just the person who it extends beyond just the person who took their life. It affects everyone that they know.
everyone that
Yeah.
they know, everyone that's involved, everyone who's ever been affiliated. It definitely creates this ripple effect. And,
Hmm.
there's a lot of athletes who have suffered um, from anxiety, from depression. More notably, if anyone didn't know, Michael Phelps, Ricky Williams, Serena Williams, Ronda Rousey,
Hmm.
Delonte West,
Terry Bradshaw.
Terry Bradshaw, The Rock Johnson. There's a lot of them out there. So, if there's anybody that is out there that is feeling, you know, uh, sadness, who's feeling isolation, who's feeling anger, and it's happening over and over and over, and you're not understanding why you feel this way, reach out to someone, talk to someone, um, communicate those feelings to someone. Don't
Hmm.
be afraid to go get help because there are
Hmm.
professionals out there who specialize in these sorts of disorders and these sorts of treatments, or I mean, these sorts of uh, feelings, and there's help that can be had. Okay, and
Hmm.
I'm really happy to know that I've got a great support system around me. I'm really blessed to know that I've got great friends and great people around me who care. And if I'm ever feeling that way, I promise, that I won't, be inside of a box and not, speak about whatever it is that I'm feeling. You know what I'm saying? So, um, this episode tonight is definitely dedicated to Dallas Hunter and to everyone who ever had any sort of affiliation with him, whether it be friends, families, teammates, um, classmates, whatever it may be. Today, this news that came upon us, we lost a good one, and don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because the person who you see every day may be suffering from something, that a lot of people battle on a daily basis, and help can be sought, and help can be found.
Yeah, and just to kind of, like this episode kind of, it is kind of a a downer, if you will, but at the same time, I think it is something important that should be talked about. And forgive us for seeming a little bit all over the place, but like this news did kind of hit us, and when it did, I think it's just something that we felt like we needed and wanted to talk about. But just going back to what you said, like, you don't know if anyone's what someone might be going through, and I think something to take away from that statement is that it's for people to be nicer to one another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's something that to plug King Size Gabe again. He kind of made mention to this in the episode that we had him in, where he was like, you don't know what someone might be going through. They might be having a bad day, and something as simple as, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Right.
Or "Hi, how are you? Like, you look great," or something like that, or just any sort of like statement to maybe get them out of their own thoughts and to
Mhm.
get them talking. And something just like, "Oh, I hope you have a great day," or something like that. Like, you
Exactly.
never know. Like, that might make the difference in someone's day that day. They might be in a terrible place, and because you said hi to them, or "Hey, you look great. Like, I noticed you got a haircut," or something like that, or anything, like, it might make the difference in someone's day. And it might, if they're at such a low point, who knows, like, that little statement, whether you know it or not, might actually be the turning point that they needed in order to, like, start thinking positively about themselves or anything like that. So I think one thing, um, to kind of reiterate, is just for people to be more kind to one another. um, because I think kindness really does spread, and
Mhm.
the way you treat people lends to how other people treat other people. So if you can treat somebody well and with generosity, they're more likely in turn to treat someone else with that same sort of sentiment. So if everyone can be a little bit more kinder to one another, maybe this sort of problem, and it might not ever be fully erased. Like, like, we're all human and just ingrained with this sort of stuff inherently, but I think some of it could be alleviated just a little bit if maybe we're a little bit nicer to each other.
Amen.
So
Well,
that's
I
just
tell you
something to
what,
leave
man,
everybody with.
this episode was to bring awareness to mental health. Um, Anybody that's out there that is struggling with that, there are available hotlines for you to, and people to talk to. You do have, I mean, if you don't just absolutely don't have anyone else to talk to, please,
Hmm.
seek help. Don't be afraid to talk about it. But
Yeah, I
I
mean, if
thought
you
that
like,
this was,
I was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say, I was just gonna like say, like, if there, like you just said, like, if you don't feel like there's anyone you could talk to, like, at least there are hotlines out there. Like, there's a depression suicide hotline out there, 1-800-suicide. 1-800. Yeah. So if you ever feel like you're in
Go ahead.
need.
Try that one again. Try that one again. Try.
Yeah, like so. I mean, if anyone
say
knows,
the number. Don't say 1-800-SUICIDE. Don't say
Well,
1-800.
yeah. Well, I was reading it and I was gonna say the actual number, but
Yeah, just say the actual number. Say the actual number.
hold on.
You have
How
time.
did- Should I do depression suicide hotline or national suicide prevention helpline? Which one?
Either one.
Well, suicide, I'd actually have to like look up the thing because I don't know the first. What's the numbers associated with SUI?
What's the numbers associated with SUI?
Yeah, because the last things
7, 8,
7, 8, what?
what's after what? SU
What's associated with I?
4.
So 784?
Yeah.
784-2433. Okay. 784. Okay. So if anyone out there knows anyone, or if you're personally suffering from anything, please, last resort, if you need just a hotline to reach out to, please don't be afraid to, call like the depression suicide hotline at 1-800-784-2433. Just it's a number, hand it out, or just point somebody in that direction. If you even if someone comes to you, or if you yourself are suffering from something like that.
Absolutely. And pay attention to the signs of people that are around you. I know that I mentioned some what did I mention earlier?
I don't know.
I mentioned some oh, okay. And please make sure that you pay attention to the signs of people's conditions. If you see some of the things that I mentioned earlier, as anger or isolation or disengagement or anything like that, if you see something funny, that's out of the ordinary for people,
Mhm.
talk to them, see what's going on. Make sure that we just simply say hi to people. But Keenan, the people can find us where at?
So everyone can find us on social media, on our Twitter account and our Instagram account at Sports Drink Club. And then you can listen to us and subscribe to us for any new episodes that release on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. God damn it. You can find us. I'm so off right now. You can follow us and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, or any sort of podcast directory that you subscribe to. And once you do, please leave a review. Please rate us. We would love it. Any sort of feedback would greatly be appreciated. So you
Absolutely.
can
We
find
want to
us
stay
there.
5 stars, man. We want to stay 5 stars. Also, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter, Sports Drink Club. That's Sports DRANK Club. Find us. We need followers. We are lacking, and we need more people. Please, if you're the 200 follower, I'll give you $200.
No, you're not.
You don't know.
You're not. You're not doing that.
If you're the 200 follower, I will give you $200. So get us to 200 followers on Instagram, please.
But then it's gonna be sitting at 199 because everyone's gonna be trying to like no one wants to be like that 200 followers. So it's gonna sit at like 198 forever because it's like, okay, who's gonna be that 199 and then who's gonna be a 200?
Maybe, who knows? I could just be I'm just trying to hey man, I'm just trying to spread the word, but we have definitely been gaining listeners. We've been definitely gaining more traction as our
Yes.
episodes have gone on. So we appreciate
Yes.
everyone who's been supporting us.
Yeah, so I want to thank everyone who's been listening to us, not only since day one, but once they've started listening to us, they continue to listen to us. We really appreciate it, and we love the support, and we can't thank you guys enough for continuing to tune in, um, and hopefully you guys are entertained and like what we're doing. So yeah,
Absolutely. But this has been another episode of the Sports Drink Club. I am Patrick Melton, along with my co-host Keenan Duke. And rest easy, Dallas. We'll definitely see you on the other side. Hope that everybody has a great night. And Keenan, I'll see you next time,
Yep.
bub.
All right, man, take care.